Do it for me. Is that Joyce?
No.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon. Now we can start. We're waiting on. Our meeting is called to order. Good afternoon. Welcome to Healthmasters, the Arkansas Department of Health Toastmasters Club. I see we have a guest in the back. I will turn it over to you at the end of our meeting to let somebody introduce you, whoever brought you with them, and you can tell us a few words about how you felt about the meeting today. I have a quote today from Tim Saladay. He says, "It's not how strongly you feel about your topic. It's about how strongly they feel about your topic after you speak." Let's all stand, and our flag is moved again. Let's recite our pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. I want to start off with one bit of business. Anybody who hadn't seen Barbara yet? Let's make sure we see her about our dues. I was out of town last week, so I need to make a visit to her myself. We have 3 speakers today, and I'll turn it over to the hands of our Toastmaster for the day, Miss Joyce Biddle. I visually gave you a nod. Forgive me.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is a interesting day. I just left the state capitol. We were having a legislative reception over there. And for those of you who may be at your TV at 5 o'clock, I'm on Channel 11 at 5 today. I gave an interview, so I don't know how much of it they're used, but y'all can see. All right, we're going to get the meeting started today. You know, last week was the first day of spring. But you can't really tell it because the temperature is so low today. I was pleasantly surprised. I guess you can say pleasantly, because I went to Austin for spring break, and it was like 80, 85 degrees down there. I get back, and it's 42. And I'm like, what's going on? Anyway, my whole point of that is the theme for today's meeting is spring is here. Okay? So we'll be talking, if y'all can, work that in. All right, we're going to start with our counter introduction. Our counter today is Nathaniel.
Tell us. As your eye counter, my job is to pause.
Thank you so much, Nathaniel. Then we'll have a word of the day from our grammarian today, which is June Liu.
My job. Was assured that there's no speech required, only the conviviality with. Thank you.
Okay. We can't hear in the back, and I have the mics out so we can louder. Couldn't hear in the back. I'm sorry.
Example, I love the conviviality of this little candle.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we'll have a good time trying to figure out how to use however you say it. Conviviality. Oh, okay. All right. Next on our agenda is the Toastmaster Minute coming from Philip Borden.
Thank you. For today's Toastmaster Minute, I want us to learn something from this little story. Pay close attention to this. One day a man came home from work and he told his wife, "Honey, there's going to be some new rules around here. Starting tonight, I want my supper cooked and on the table. After supper, I want to sit in my recliner and read the paper while you iron my shirt and shine my shoes for work tomorrow. And in the morning, you know who's going to dress me and fix my hair?" His wife said, "Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. The funeral home director." Well, I gave my contest speech last Friday at the High Noon Club. I didn't tell that joke. I don't think they would have let me make it to the end of it. In fact, I think I barely made it today. But Jason Chaco was my evaluator. It was a good meeting, not quite the level of conviviality that you normally see at the High Noon Club. It was rainy and cold, and it was spring break, and there were a few people out. But Jason Chaco, you remember him, he's been to our club a few times. He was my evaluator, and he said, "Philip, your speech you have a lot of humor in your speech. There's a lot of funny lines, but you have a tendency to just press right on through and go into your next point." And he put it this way. He said, "The way to remember it is never make the audience choose whether to appreciate the point that you just shared and the humor of it, or listening to your next point. And he put it even more concisely in his written evaluation. He said, don't make the audience choose whether to laugh or to listen, but give some comedic timing in your pauses in there to allow the audience to appreciate the humor before you go on into your next point. So just some encouragement to do that, especially when you're incorporating humor into your speeches. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Now we'll enter into the prepared speech segment of our program. Our first speaker is Tony Bailey, and the title of his speech is Marriage, What Makes It Work? Well, that sounds so interesting. He'll be speaking from speech number 5 in the Confident Communication Manual, Your Body Speaks.
Good morning, my fellow Toastmasters. I was teasing her because she didn't use my intro. So my intro was, last week I celebrated 19 years of wedding bliss. Robbie and I were a blind date. And as you know, with anything that's, that you don't have no idea about, I had no idea until I talked to her on the phone. And we decided to meet the next day. And here we are. We've been together 20 years, married 19 years. So I thought about this. I said, well, what can I speak about? Cool. Talk about marriage and what makes it work. Or should I say, what made it work for me? So how many of you have been married for 10 years? Oh, nice little group. So each of you know that even in those 10 years or better, there's some challenges in there, right? So I'll kind of give you some of the things that has worked for me. So I'll start with the ingredients, right? So just like baking a cake, start with bad ingredients, you end up with a mess, right? So if you, let's say, start with bad eggs, rotten eggs, the cake is going to taste, if you can bake it, the cake is going to taste horrible, right? So you need to start with good ingredients. So you need to have 2 individuals that are, quote, your good ingredients, right? The next thing, throw out that 50-50 rule. People say marriage is 50-50. Throw it out. Get rid of it. Because if your marriage is 50-50, then you've already set limits on how much you're going to do. For example, husbands. 50-50 rule usually says that you're going to do the outside and she's going to do the inside. That doesn't always work. Sometimes you may have to cook or wash the dishes. Wives, sometimes you may have to do yard work. One of my funniest moments was seeing my wife do yard work, and she was riding a mower, and she's mowing, and my wife has this beautiful smile, and she's mowing, and so I'm outside in the yard too. And she's riding the mower, going around. And every time she'd come by, she'd wave at me. And so once she came around, and she's smiling, and she has grass all in her teeth. I had to stop her because I laughed so hard. She couldn't figure out what I was laughing at. Was the grass that was in her teeth. But that's one of the things that, that's helped it work for us. The next thing is humor. Laugh a little. Marriage is serious, but it's got to be fun. You can't be serious all the time. Some of the funniest jokes that's been played on me were done by my wife. And she had fun at my expense this past weekend. And she got up Sunday morning and everything was a joke on Tony. I asked her why, you're funny today. So be it. The next thing, develop your own language, your own code words, right? So there's nothing worse than being somewhere and you're ready to go, but you have no idea, if your spouse is ready to go or not. And you want to say, are you ready to go? But you can't because it may be rude. So you have to develop those little code words that say, it's time to go. Right? It may be something as simple as, Yeah, you know, the dog is probably cold right now. Time to go. You know, develop your own little language. How about date night? We've all heard about date night, you know, date night. Well, date night is not enough. You have to date all the time. You have to date 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So my wife and I, we flirt with each other as if we're not married. Our children think it's strange, it's weird. We talk multiple times during the day, starting at 7:30, at 11 o'clock, and at 2 o'clock. Those are her break times, so we talk. And if we can't talk, then we text. Even if I'm sitting in a meeting, you'll probably see me under the table, because that's what we do. And then when we go out on a date, we've already had so much fun at home. The date is extra, right? So have a little date night, but date a little bit more often. And then how about compliment and compromise, my 2 C's. Don't be afraid to compliment one another, right? I tell my wife on a regular basis how beautiful she is. Of course, I'm flirting with her, and there's a hidden agenda, but I do tell her, right? And of course, she does the same to me. And usually when she compliments me, it's like, okay, what are we about to do? Because she's usually trying to, drive me towards something. But it's something that we do and we enjoy. Then there's compromise, right? How many of you think you're always right? Always, right? You have to understand that none of us are right 100% of the time. None of us have it all figured out. And then, if you've taken care of the ingredients for the cake, then you realize that as different as we are, we complement one another, right? See, as smart as I am, my wife balances me because I move too fast. And she goes, no, it's not time for that. Well, I want it right now. So we're able to compromise. And so the beautiful thing is when you come together in unity, you can realize that as much as you're different, this allows you to make better decisions, wiser decisions as one. The last thing, you all know that I'm a minister, right? The last thing is worship and pray together. This helps all those other ingredients, all those other things mix well together. So, what makes a marriage work? All of those things made it work for me. Thank you.
Wow, Tony, that was wonderful.
You like that?
Yes, I like that. But I can't use it. I'm not married. However, I am dating, so I guess I can still use it. All right. Speaker number 2 for today is David Vrundy, and he'll be speaking from Competent Communicating Manual number 3, Get to the Point. The title of his speech is Speaking Off the Cuff.
Imagine I am today's Table Topics presenter. You see me come to the lectern, and you see me ask the first question. Is it better to own a home or rent? How would you answer that question? Not what you would say, but what technique would you use to answer that question? Personal experience. That's a possibility. But today you're going to hear 3 techniques. Not the personal experience technique, but that's a good technique. But you'll hear 3 other techniques that you can use at any time to answer not only a table topics question, but any impromptu question that you're asked. Very powerful techniques you'll always have. And to add some conviviality to our meeting, you will receive a chocolate bar, Hershey's chocolate bar, I just picked up this morning at Kroger, if you volunteer, because you're going to be involved in this meeting. Tell me and I'll forget, show me and I might remember, involve me and I'll understand. So you're going to be involved. Just have to volunteer to participate. Now there are 3 techniques you're going to hear about. The first one, called the prep method. You ever heard of the prep method of speaking?
Ever heard of the PrEP method? No one's heard of the PrEP method? PrEP method is taught by Brian Tracy, a world leader on personal. R means give reasons. Oh, you might say, it is better to own a home than rent. Here's an example. So in conclusion, it's much better to own a home. That makes sense. Sound very logical. Even if someone disagrees with what you're saying, the way you're organized with this response, it's hard to disagree with you. Oh, who wants to give this a try? Do you want to give this a try for a chocolate bar using the PrEP method of speaking? Raise your hand. Dewey wants to give this a try. Using the PrEP method, is it better to own a home or rent?
It is better to own a home than rent. The reason for that is if you're renting a home, you have a lot of problems with landlords who don't have the maintenance issues up the way they should be. You're putting money out there, and then at the end of the year, at the end of the decade, you've got nothing to show for it. When you own your own home, you can have a quality home to start with fewer maintenance issues, and then you have control of how those maintenance issues are taken care of so that they're more permanent. An example being the house behind me is a rental house by a slumlord, and he's having all kinds of problems trying to get that slumlord to fix his property. On the other hand, a man in my church had one built by a quality team, and he has no maintenance issues with it. The point it being, it is more advantageous to all of us to own a home than to rent, and your conviviality will be much better at the end.
Thank you very much, Dewey. Thank you for that volunteering. So you get rewarded when you volunteer. Now the next method is called the pendulum. Ever heard of the pendulum method? And you're going to have a chance to respond to the same question using this method. The pendulum method makes you sound very... because you're looking at both sides of the argument. You might say, on one hand, the advantage are X, but on the other hand, the disadvantage. So, volunteer to use this method. Give it a try. Is it better to own a home or rent using the pendulum method? Wanda, all right.
Is it better to own a home or to rent? I think it depends on your stage in life. If you're very mobile, don't know how long you're going to be at a place, then renting is a good idea, especially if you're in school or something. However, owning a home, you are paying somebody besides the renter, the landlord, and so in my opinion, especially if you're out of school and everything, I think owning a home is...
Wanda. All right. And the third and final method you'll hear today, past, present, and future. Ever heard of the past, present, and future method? Past, present, and future works by answering the question three ways. Also, it extends the time. Very creative. So, you might say, when I was 10 years old, renting was what I wanted to do. Now, in 2013, what I'd like. Maybe it's... But in the future, when I'm old, I think present. I'd like to give it a try. For a chocolate bar.
One chocolate bar. When I was youngster, my dad owned a 160-acre farm, so you know I'm going to own my own home someday. But, however, when I got grown, the only thing I had an option was $7.95. How many of you think you can buy a home for that? Not even at my age. So I started renting. I rented a house from a gentleman that was one small house, just room enough for one person, and a visitor occasionally. That helped me tremendously because my rent was only like $30 a month. And my utilities were only $9 a month. That included water, gas, electricity, all the good things that life has to offer. However, when I decided to get married a few years ago, how many did he say, 9, 10, 11? How about 34 and a half? Is that pretty good? I said, no way. I don't like those houses. It's little bitty and too small, so you know I'm not going to rent a house for long. I didn't like the two-story houses that we lived in. It had 40 stairs up and 25 down because you fell down them most of the time, especially as a blind person. Y'all hadn't got that message yet. But anyway, so I bought my house where I can go around the block in my house. I can walk as many miles as I want to in my house. I don't have to go to Walmart. I don't have to call the transportation system to get there to and fro. And if I want to clean my house up like Dewey has outside, he had this fella come over and gave him a brand new house in one day. Is that right, Dewey? In his brand new house that he owns, he's got a brand new house. He spray washed it, took all the paint off. Now he's going to put a new coat of paint on. So I'm telling you that you can rent when it's appropriate, and when you've only got a small amount of money. But when you get married and want something permanent that you can change, you can paint your own walls, or you can walk around in Walmart in your own house. So you can decide whether to rent or own your own home. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Adrian. You heard 3 techniques today: the prep method, the pendulum, past, present, and future. Give it a try the next time you're asked an impromptu question. You don't know how powerful these techniques are until you give it a try. Madam Toastmaster.
Well, that was convenient. I can't say the word. Conviviality. All right. Speaker number 3 is Ms. Ruby Brown. She is speaking from the Confident Communicator number 3, Get to the Point. And the title of her speech is The Anniversary.
To our visitors and the Healthmasters. The anniversary. It was our first anniversary. My husband desired a day of fishing, and I decided to come to work. We agreed to meet at home at 3 o'clock. Our plans were to spend the rest of the day together. I left work at 2:45, all excited. I rushed home, and when I arrived, the car was in the driveway. Ooh, I was so happy. He met the deadline. I go into the house, and it's quiet. I check the backyard, and my husband is nowhere to be found. Several emotions began to arise. One was of disappointment, another was of anger, and a little bit of sadness. I realized that my husband is at the neighborhood lake. In my mind, the question is, what should I do? Now I began to pray and talk to God, and by this time the Spirit spoke to me and said, go fishing. I changed my clothes and headed to the lake. At a distance, I can see my husband, his friend, and his friend, 5-year-old grandson, and they could see me. I get out of the car, and I notice my husband packing up his fishing gear. He come rushing across the park. We met halfway, and he began to explain. And my response is, honey, it's okay because I'm coming to fish. Shocked. He said, I'm ready to go. And I said, oh, no, no, no. He prepares the fishing pole because he knew that I wasn't going to touch any crickets, dead or alive. So I began to fish. Little Choo-Choo decided that he'll sit by my side. Now the guys were over there laughing and making wisecrack, saying, we're going to be here all night. But I continued to fish as if they had not said a word. In my mind, I really wanted to go, but I had to make a point. The Choo-Choo is getting on my nerves, so I moved to the other side of the dock. By this time, my husband is softly pleading with me to go. Standing my grounds, before I can get out the next word, my rod pulls south, and I go, baby, what's going on? And he's like, you got a fish. And he said, pull it up. And I pulled it up, and I threw it. Started running. That water's all over me. I didn't want that dirty water on me. I didn't want that fishy smell on me. And so at this time, he catches the rod. I go running. I knock over the other containers with all the other fish in it, and the fish go flopping on the deck. What a sight to behold. At this time, we laughed until our sides were hurting. After they cleaned everything up, I was ready to go. After all the commotion, Choo-Choo's mouth was poked out. So I asked, what is wrong with him? And they responded, he's upset because you caught a fish and he didn't. He wanted everyone to wait until he caught his fish. That just wasn't going to happen. It's still my anniversary. We all went back to the house and took pictures. Derwin and the guys cleaned the fish. My first fish. My only fish. We never made it to dinner on that first anniversary, but it was one of the best anniversaries we ever had. Not only was that a great anniversary, but my husband named the fishing pole Ruby. He engraved my name on it, and I still do not have any desire to go fishing. But this is Ruby's fishing pole. I learned that if you can't beat them, join them. I learned that prayer works. The scripture said, be still and know that I am God. This past March the 2nd, we celebrated our 11th anniversary. I found that marriage is a give and take. Sometimes we have to give to get. That decision to go fishing that day was one of the best things I could have ever done. I love my Derwin, and he said after 11 years of marriage, he wouldn't change a thing. Thank you.
Well, Miss Ruby, that was very interesting. You took the high road, and most of us don't take the high road. We take the low road and, go off and all that kind of stuff. Our next item on the agenda is table topics, and guess what? I'm the topics master. Okay, as I said, the theme for today is spring. So my first question is, what do you like most about spring? James?
Yeah, James, you're here.
you. My next question hits upon something James said. Are you a gardener? And if you do garden, do you prefer indoor plants, outdoor plants? What is your favorite activity as it relates to gardening? Barbara.
All right, you hear Barbara?
Yeah, so we can hear. Although I don't know how. Can you repeat the question, ma'am, please?
Are you a gardener? And if you are a gardener, what is your favorite form of gardening? Do you like indoor plants, outdoor plants? Do you like playing in the yard?
Thank you, Madam Topics Master. To answer your question, no, I am not a gardener. I don't know anything about gardening, although I do like to get out in the yard and mess around with flowers. But when you said garden, I thought you meant like vegetables.
No.
Is that no, not necessarily? Okay, that's what came to mind when you said, am I a gardener? But I do like to play with my hostas, and I like to put out the bark, although nobody told me that you have to do it like every year when I first started it. So I had a really nice yard landscape for about 2-3 years, and then after that it's just been kind of like gone downhill because you have to turn this stuff and keep working it, and I didn't know that. And I got hostas, and they come back every year, so I was really impressed. I have no flowers because you have to plant those, and they don't go and come and stuff like that. So to answer your question, I guess I'm really not a gardener. Okay. Okay.
My last question is, last week for most school districts, it was spring break. You know, some of us adults take that opportunity to go on spring break as well. Did you take spring break? And if you did, what did you do? Nathaniel.
And taking days off when we began going places. There, called water fountains and all these things, and it's still arrangements. So we told them. Across the street, I looked at it. It's like when you drive up, you get out your car, you walk in the door. I don't know all those places, but it's not a place I want to spend 5 days. To say I didn't have fun, and it's like what I expected for my. Really, it was across the street from. Some people never been for a trip or something. But for a person who never watched Dukes of Hazzard, even though I got a free trip through the museum to see what Cooper did on Dukes of Hazzard,
You know, I had a similar experience with my spring break last year. Not this year, but last year. So I understand it. And I have been to Nashville, so I've seen what you're talking about. All right, we're moving on to the evaluation part of our program, and I want to introduce our general evaluator, Ms. Barbara Williams.
Okay, thank you, Madam
You're welcome.
Toastmaster. I'm the general evaluator today. First up, we have our evaluator for Tony Bailey is our evaluator for Tony. It's our. Okay. I'm like, wait a minute. What do I say? Okay. That's a joke, right? Okay. The secretary's name is Sheila, but I call her Sheila. And they keep saying, who are you talking about? And I'm saying, Sheila? Okay, so our evaluator number 1 is D. Shirley for Tony Bailey. Come on down. Don't let them change your accent.
Okay. So, today I'm giving the evaluation for Tony. His topic is marriage, what makes it works. I think Tony gave a good introduction and is tied to his topic. He made a very good eye contact and his speech is very smooth, and when I listen to it, I enjoy. And at first I was going to take notes, but since his speech is very smooth and natural, I did not take note, but I just keep listening to him. I think it's and the content is very good. He's organized his thought. He have introduction and the body and then the conclusion. And Tony make his facial expression is very friendly. When he talks, he smile and he made me feel like his marriage is really work. I mean, he really make it work. Whatever he say is really make it work for his marriage. Even though I think it's better to stay single. I mean he is, but I just have in my mind that single is better. And when I read on this book, it says, what could the speaker have done differently to make the speech more effective? At first, I was going to put nothing, but I think, well, it's not me. So I think his speech is very good, but it would be a little bit better if he showed the picture of his spouse and his family, so it show the happiness. And overall, I think his speech is very good.
Hey, thank you very much. Evaluator number 2 is Dana Hill, and she's evaluating David Vrundy.
Thank you, Miss Barbara. Dave, great speech. Things I really liked about your speech, I'll start with those because there were a lot of things and it's hard to put all of them into words. Really good space of where you speak. Following your topic. Write them down. I also liked how the question that you were going to have out there at front, so people called upon or volunteered to answer. I also liked the fact that you cross, but with that it left a challenge. 30 seconds or whatever. Because gone over, but it wouldn't have been your fault. It was. I think you did a really good job. Got people motivated to you gave. The only other thing that I could say that may have been an that was really good, and it gave me that you were going to teach me. Overall, you pulled it all together because you started out with that. Evaluate because you always do such a great job.
Last but not least, we'll have James Hicks evaluating Ruby Brown.
Thank you. I'm going to be evaluating or giving the evaluation for Ruby. You did a very, very good job. I painted a very vivid picture with the illustrations that you were given with the speech. Didn't detect any nervousness. Very confident with the way you delivered and the way it came across. Used great timing with the speech, with regards to the speech timing and the way that you delivered the speech. Very conviviality. I mean, you conveyed that throughout the speech. I mean, with just the picture that was painted. I mean, I could see it, and that was good that you were able to draw the audience or draw me into the experience that you had. The one thing that I would say that possibly could have strayed away, because you told the story so well, you used notes though. I mean, you didn't have to use as many notes. I mean, because from the props to the way that you were conveying the speech, I was there living it with you, so that was real good.
Okay, I sometimes come across, or don't come across, I guess, to some people, but it's all done in fun, love, I don't know. I was evaluated today, said I didn't send out nice emails, but I think they are. I'm just demanding. I want that money and I want it now. So we had a great meeting today. Spring is here. Reminds me love is in the air. And I have my brother here as a guest, and I'm glad he wasn't here to hear that speech on what makes it work, because I'm sure he would have had a lot to say about me and marriage. But overall, we did a great job on the speeches today. I just think we are just really growing. They were very informative. We've come a long way from day one. I enjoyed the participation that David had of the audience. We had a good morale. We had a good flow. The only thing I would like for us to do more is to use those mics, because I really pushed this meeting, and when someone is looking at the video on YouTube and they can't hear you, if you don't come down to this mic, and I know we have to step away, but if we step away, we need to have a stand mic that you can talk in front of or get close to that mic up there. Because when you're not on camera, they can't hear what you're saying. So even if they don't see you, they could hear your answer to the question. Like Joyce had some great answers to her table topics, but unfortunately, they may not be able to hear what was said. So let's keep up the good work. And I want to challenge the other health masters that have not got on that training for the CC, Competent Communicator Recognition Award. I want to challenge you to come on board because now I'm kind of jealous that they're getting theirs and I'm not getting mine. Madam Toastmaster. Did I forget somebody? Oh, okay, thank you. I've just been informed that as general evaluator, I need to hear the timers reports and the grammarian. Oh, the grammarian. Oh, conviviality. Come on down. Come on down. You know, there was an email between the three of us, D and June. I called June D, and then I got this email. I told you we look alike. So now I'm going to get it. One's got glasses, one got long hair. Go ahead.
Madam General Evaluator, as the grammarian, my job is looking for the awkward usage of English. I didn't find any. I really enjoyed the speech. And also I need to give a report about the word use of today. I purposely choose a word that myself is not familiar either, according to the requirement for this job. And from what I heard, the conviviality was used by our Toastmaster once, by David twice, and by our guest Dwayne once, also by our general evaluator once, by James once. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Now we'll hear from our timer, Wanda.
Started at 12:01 and seconds.
Thank you. So once again, let me challenge those of you that have not gotten on board with that competent communicator, because I want to get some feathers in my cap, like Adrian suggested.
Thank you, Miss General Evaluator. I want to reiterate, and what is this word? Conviviality. The meeting was very good today, and we had a lot of energy today, which we haven't been having lately. And I think we did a good job today. So now I'm going to turn it back over to our president, Mr. Noble.
Great meeting as usual. You know the normal routine. The email will go out about our next meeting. If you can't fulfill your role, let the Toastmaster know. Who's our Toastmaster for next week? Has an email gone out yet, Philip? Okay, that's fine. Let the Toastmaster know or somebody know that you can't be with us. I'll turn it over to Barbara in a minute, but I want to hear from our guests. Let us know, well, who are you here with today? Somebody Miss Ruby, introduce your guest for us, Miss Ruby. Say a couple of words. Great, great, great. Philip, is there any business we need to discuss before I turn it over to Miss Barbara? Okay. David? Yes, Ms. Ruby. Great job. And make sure Ms. Ruby sends out your email address so we can get a word out to you. Thank you for coming and keep you in the loop about some things that are going on. All right, Ms. Barb.
Dues. Money, 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 money. Anyway, we have about 10. We have 10 Healthmasters on record that I'll be submitting today for renewal. We have 2. I got 2 emails back from 2 that are not renewing because of time. So with that in mind, I just want to throw it out there. Do you think we should change the day from Monday to another day? I have several suggestions that we should move it from Monday to another day. I'm pretty flexible, but you know.
We have to check on the bill.
Well, not
I would
this
say
one. Well, one has meetings on Monday, and I know with budget coming up, well, sometimes the meeting's out the building. And then the other one, I think she had class. So, I mean, that's just up to. Right, right.
And it's hard to.
Right.
Pretty much.
Well, when I visited the high noon Toastmasters on Friday, they were in a smaller room. So I don't know if this room is intimidating to people because it's so big. I don't know. Speaking. So the other room would be the lab training room. It's pretty. Lab. Okay, so I don't know of another room. So we'll. That's the only other room that I know of, unless you have one in your building.
One that we could stay consistent with.
Okay. So just think about that as you're inviting people, kind of put feelers out to see what they think about Mondays. As Philip said, it's, Mondays. But I have this rule in my office, don't come to me on Mondays because that's Toastmasters. I don't work on Mondays after 1 o'clock. Then I start working, okay? So if you have any questions, feel free to call me on Mondays after 1 o'clock. No, I'm just joking. I work all the time. Better not say that, I don't work. I work all the time. Actually, I was up working at 2 o'clock this morning thinking.
No, you weren't.
Grants. So, Toastmasters, everything. Have a good weekend.
Of course, for me, with any switch of the day, my main concern are those of us who come. So if those of us who come on a regular basis want to switch the date, then that's what my focus would be. Not the potential for somebody coming, but those of us who are dedicated to it. And I personally like the bigger room because it kind of gives you a little more feel of if you had to speak somewhere, it'd be more of the room you'd have to speak in. That's just one person's opinion. I understand everybody else's opinion as well. Is there anything else that we need to hit on? Yes, Ms. Rubin. It's right here. Of you and your fish, it's right there, Ms. Rubin. There's not anything else? Meeting is adjourned.